Hey everybody, welcome to the Everything Money channel. Normally we analyze stocks, businesses, business growth, but today we're talking about the stimulus check. It's been approved. I'll be the first to admit I'm not totally in the know about what's going on, but in general, we want to bring you Paul's thoughts on what a stimulus does, for the country, you as obviously a viewer of this channel and as an American, and what people do with their money and what it means moving forward. A lot of us are hearing about $600 payment, who it's going to, who's getting it, what families are getting it, and so we wanted to sort of give you a broad take on what Paul thinks. Paul, what are your thoughts on a stimulus?
Not only that, just the implications of the government today, as well as the country for the future.
What are your first thoughts when you hear that the government's handing out money like this?
So I've always said I believe in a balanced budget and having a surplus. And the reason being is the idea is when you have a balanced budget and surplus, you keep the surplus going like you would in your personal life. And when there are tough times, use that surplus to give out to people and businesses to make the economy smooth out recessions. Now, the problem is I think there's some stat like in the last 40 years, we've only had a surplus 2 of those years.
Yeah.
That is not a lot of people would defend deficit spending as a good way to grow. I do not. I believe in we have to be responsible as a government, make sure that we do the things we need to do, be as efficient as possible, and keep money in like kind of a safety net where when we do have recessions, we can hand out these checks and we don't miss a beat.
Maybe more quickly and easier than the last couple that's gone out.
Of course, because if we have a surplus, let's say we have a $200 billion surplus for 10 years, and it's ready to go, $2 trillion is sitting there waiting for when something happens. I mean, $2 trillion is a lot of money. Now, you're not going to get the big jumps in GDP growth because remember that when, just like your personal life, I look at the government just like an individual person. The more you spend today, the more you're sacrificing the future. The more you save today, the more you're giving yourself in the future. The government right now, we're spending, for the last 40 years, we've been spending more today than we have, and we're sacrificing for the future. I get it. Everybody lives in the now. But then when the future happens and we have issues like we did this year with coronavirus, like we did in 2008 with the financial crisis, you can't complain about that. And that's part of the issue that we have as a country to understand that there's today and there's tomorrow. Which one do you care about? Well, of course we care about today, but shouldn't we care about tomorrow? You know, we look at the environment. We're worried about climate change, right?
Yep.
What's climate change? It's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? It's affecting us right now a little bit, but there are theories out there, which I think are ridiculous, that we're not going to have an Earth in 12 years. Like, that's just a ridiculous statement.
Yeah.
So we always have to sit there and balance today versus tomorrow. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect a surplus today so that we can pay for the issues of tomorrow. This recent stimulus that was passed.
Yeah, the economic relief package of $900 billion. Where does this money come from, Paul? I don't think normal people, even like myself, even know.
So the government just basically prints money. They issue debt out. When they issue debt to bondholders, the bondholders pay them money. They use that money to go give out to others. Now, $900 billion is a lot of money, and the government's doing a good sell job. They're saying they're focusing on $900 billion and $600 a person. Because guess what? Nobody's going to do the math, except for us. 600. Let's say there's 330 million people in this country. There are going to be some people excluded. There's going to be a lot of things that don't happen. Let's just assume it's around 300 million people get the $600 check. That's equivalent to $180 billion. Guys, this is 20% of the $900 billion that was approved. This should be a concern for every taxpayer out there. And if you don't pay taxes, you should still be concerned because it's still money that somebody else has to go pay in tax in the future instead of hiring, expanding, and doing other things in their business to make the economy better. This is all going towards other baloney. You might sit there and say, well, it's going to businesses. I get that. But at the end of the day, we've all seen the waste the government has. And I look at this saying, this is a prime example. Now, there are anecdotes out there on missiles being bought. That happens in every single bill. If you don't believe that happens in every single bill, you're out of your mind. And this is what I preach about government waste. This is all money that comes out of our taxes and our extra spending that we do every year, our deficit spending that's going to affect us down the road. Now, the big thing also is, there's a little thing called inflation. Inflation is a reality. Inflation is an increase in the cost of goods and services. When we're printing this much money out there, you know, everybody talks about a minimum wage. We should all have a minimum wage of $15 an hour. Okay, great. Why don't we make it, let's go to extreme. Why don't we make it $150 an hour? What happens if inflation becomes, what happens if minimum wage becomes $150 an hour? then McDonald's workers would make $150 an hour. That means the average McDonald's worker makes $300,000 a year. Sounds awesome, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
But guess what? Then all of a sudden, they're buying normal houses that they would normally live in, but for a lot more money. It's just inflationary. And that's all this extra spending is. It's just inflationary. We will pay for this down the road. At some point, we're going to have a lot higher cost of living. We've been spoiled the last 15 years of inflation being very tame, around 1.5%, 2% a year. So we don't feel the extra costs of things. Like, okay, you buy an apple today for $1. Next year it's $1.01, $1.02, $1.03. It's not a big deal, right? Mm-hmm. But we don't remember the times of the 70s, 80s when inflation was 10, 15, 20% a year, and that's when they had to raise rates to 10 or 15, 20% in order to fight that. This is all going to be a repercussion down the road of extra money in the economy. There's no way around. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You either get what you want today and sacrifice the future, or you sacrifice today and get more in the future. Are there balances? Not arguing there aren't balances. Even Warren Buffett says, let's just go get what needs to be done to get this country back on track. Okay, but if we always use that argument, then we'll always have an excuse to always write big checks. I'm of the mentality of, we're only giving 20% of the money to the people, so the government's doing a really good job of spinning it, of look, this is for the people. It's $600 a person, $900 billion bucks. This is great. It's not going into our pockets, guys. The vast 80% of it is not going directly into the consumer's pocket. That's a big issue I had back in 2008 with TARP. We were rewarding major corporations for not doing a good job instead of giving money directly to the people to be able to go out there and pay their bills. Now, I'm not a big believer in government welfare, whether corporate or individual. But if you're going to make this argument, let's at least be efficient about it. I'm not a big believer in big government. I believe in smaller government. I'm a big believer that the government is there not to help you, but they're there to make you reliant on them so they become bigger and bigger and bigger. Think about Congress. Congress's job, they get paid. Everything gets done for them no matter what happens in this economy, right? So I look at it saying, why are we sitting here allowing them to mislead us? And every single congressperson is the same. If you think it's political party driven, you're out of your mind. Yeah, Republicans love big government just as much as Democrats do, and Democrats love keeping people kept down, just like they accuse the Republicans of. So let's all put away the party BS and realize that at the end of the day, it's about people looking after their individual benefits, and that's what Congress is doing right now. And only 20% of the money in this stimulus is going directly to the people, and it's $600 a person. I mean, are we really?
Yeah, I've seen people. I've seen videos of people in Canada. They just burst into laughter when they're hearing this. I don't know.
Listen, I don't care what Canada thinks. I don't care what anybody in the world thinks.
There are countries that have gotten $2,000 checks to each person since this all started, and I think what does the average person in America have gotten? $1,800 total throughout the whole.
Remember.
No, I'm with you though.
There are major socialist countries out there with bigger governments that I think have bigger issues, and you got to argue that they're going to lack growth in the future for that.
Yeah.
But at the same point, it's like, I mean, what's $600 per person going to do? Is it a benefit? Sure. I mean, I'm not getting the stimulus, and I'm fine with that. Like, I didn't get the last one, but my business got a PPP loan. Okay, I'm okay with me not getting a stimulus check. I want everybody else to get it, but at the same time, when we're all past it, we're back to a normalized economy, we got to figure out a way to pay this money down, because this is how we grow as a country, to become more stable as a country. Is it going to be sexy and fun? No, but the point is, we're past the points of massive growth. We're already a very mature economy. The world pie is this, right? And right now we occupy, let's say, half of it. Well, everybody's worried, Paul, this 50% is going to become 40%. Yeah, maybe so, but guess what? The pie is now this big. Our goal is we will always get a smaller piece of the pie, but the pie we want it to be a lot bigger. And that's what's happened in the world. Africa, India, Asia, these are very, very fast growing economies. Africa is going to be the next India and China. At some point, Africa is going to be the next developing continent because they have such poor standard of living right now and they need jobs. There will be manufacturing in Africa at some point. That'll be the next big growth market. But for right now in the US, we've got to realize that $600 per person, first off, it's only 20% of the money. We could easily be giving every family $3,000 if we put the entire $900 billion into the person's hand. Mm-hmm. But I also believe we have to sit there and figure out how we're going to pay that down the road. You can only pay that with two ways: raising taxes or issuing more debt, which just kicks the can down the road even further. when they raise more taxes, if you believe for one, look at California right now. California is losing businesses and people because of the tax policy.
Yeah, it's a mess, Paul. I mean, major companies are leaving. Tesla.
And this is what I tell people. When you think that rich people are okay paying taxes, you're out of your mind. Go to California, and people are going to Arizona, Vegas, and Texas like crazy because they're like, well, I won't have the high cost of living. I'll be able to save money in taxes. I mean, it's happening all across. I mean, it's going to be a bigger and bigger problem. And then California just announced they're increasing taxes again, even higher on more rich people. And they're communists, but they're super rich. Yes, they're super rich for a reason. At some point, there's going to be a breaking point saying, hang on. I don't have to live here. I can go live somewhere else. I say the same thing about Ohio. I love Ohio, but I'm like, guys, people don't want to live in Ohio. We have to give them a reason to live in Ohio.
Yeah.
What's that reason? Make it financial. Give them jobs. Right now, the Ohio unemployment rate is actually lower than the national unemployment rate, which is great. But give them a reason. Give them low taxes and good jobs, and they'll stick and they'll come move to Ohio. I mean, look at Minnesota. Minnesota's freezing cold. They're growing, and they're growing well because they have a good. I think the Texas and Minnesota are getting a little high up there. But the whole point I'm making is, we have the stimulus today, great and dandy. But if you think it's gonna, it's probably not gonna change the average person's life too much. It'll help a lot of very poor people, hopefully. Yeah. If they have a family of 4 who are each getting $600 each, that's $2,400. Yeah. That could buy some time. But this is just a Band-Aid, and they're not giving you how much they could give you. They could easily give us each $3,000 a person if all $900 billion went to the people. And so a family of 4 would get $12,000.
That would help.
That's $1,000 a month for a year.
Yeah.
And if you're a family of 4 making $40,000 to $50,000 a year, this is a big number.
Yeah.
So I look at it going, so not only are we not giving it to the people, we're also incurring more inflationary environment, incurring more debt. Like I get it. The economy's on this footing, which by the way, then we have massive stock prices, which I don't get. But the whole point is.
And home prices.
It's just like, come on, guys, something's got to give here.
Yep. I appreciate your take, Paul. I appreciate you guys watching. If you're at home, we appreciate it. Make sure you smash that like, tickle that thumbs up, and subscribe. We have a Patreon page, patreon.com/everythingmoney. The link is in the description if you want to join our conversation about investing, stock health, company health. You'll learn about Paul's portfolio, what he's buying and selling on a daily basis, and it's incredible. And we offer these kind of videos to our Patreons only, Paul. In fact, we do you and I and Trader Mo sit down for Patreon only videos. And they're amazing. So join us on Patreon. And as always, join us for all the videos we put out every week. God, Paul, it's like 15, 16 videos a week or something. 2 a day and then live streams. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So great job. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned. Love you. Bye.